So this is a video on how we're going to paint our pink horrors, and we've had quite a few of these lying around, and I've always put off painting them. So today we're going to do them. This is the final product, as you can see, and they've got a standard and a couple of instruments. There are more of them. It's a group of 30 of them. So we're going to mass paint them. So we'll cut a few corners here and there, but I'll show you where we're doing it, and you can see if you want to repeat the process to, binge paint 30 models. If you like this video and you like the channel, please feel free to subscribe. So if you like the way these guys look and you're interested in having yours look the same, feel free to stay tuned, and I'll show you how we got here from the original assembly. So this is a video on how to paint pink horrors of Tzeentch, and as you can see, we have a lot of pink horrors to do. Now, I don't know if it's going to make much of a difference. Some of them are primed with Mephiston Red spray, such as this one here. Other ones were primed apparently black, and then base coated with Screamer Pink. I don't think it's going to matter too much what the base color is, depending on that it is a shade of red. So I think we're just going to proceed as is, and we'll see in the end if it makes that much big of a difference which one of the two base colors we use. So the first thing we're going to do after all of these base colors done is that we are going to shade them all with Carroberg Crimson. So we'll do that now. So as you can see, we give them a very good layer of Carroberg Crimson, getting it into all the grooves. And we're going to do that to all of the models that are here, and meet back here when we're done. So now that the shade is done, what we're going to do is take a little bit of pink horror, and as a dry brush, we're just going to brush that over all of the raised surfaces on all of the models. Dry brushing it till it's smooth. So as you can see, he ends up quite pink in comparison to where he began. So now that we finished with our layer of pink horror, what you can see is they're all now the same color, and it doesn't matter if they were based in Mephiston Red or Screamer Pink. They both look pink horror now, and you can see the detail came through because we only dry brushed over the high points with the pink horror. So now what we're going to do is really add another highlight layer to that, and what we're going to do is take some Emperor's Children, and we're going to add an edge highlight sort of to all of the high points here. So we'll do that right now. So as you can see, the Emperor's Children pink is going to be a little bit lighter than the pink horror was, which is why we're going to use it as an edge highlight. Now we can use the fine detail brush and go over the edges, but because we're doing 30 models at once, we're going to speed paint this. So we're going to take a little bit of Emperor's Children, which is here. We're going to mix it with some Flow Aid, and that'll help it blend a little bit better as it merges down. And then we're going to take a very, very dry brush, and we're just going to go over the high points, adding that pink shade. Coming in from the top. Pretty much like that. And as you can see, compared to one of the others, it's definitely much more pink And then as it dries, we still have all of our detail. For now, we're going to finish all the rest of these models. We'll meet back here when we're done. So now that we've finished our Emperor's Children pink, what we're going to do now is start working on some other details. So we're going to start with the tongues, which is probably the easiest thing to do. And what they're going to do is start with a base coat of Thunderhawk Blue. Like that. While we're here, we'll do both eyes as well. Just like that. So we'll leave that dry. We'll do all the rest of them. We'll meet back here in a few minutes. So this is our units now that we've finished the Thunderhawk Blue tongues, as well as the eyes. So what we're going to first do is work on the flames. So several of these guys will have flames coming off of their hands, much like that. So all of those flames are going to get a base coat of Kabalite Green. And so we're just going to brush that right over any place where there's flames. So just like so. Trying our best not to go over any of the pink fingers or any of the other pink stuff that we finished with. So just a base coat of the fire like that. We'll do the other side, and then we'll do all the other fires throughout the army, and we'll meet back here. Now that our Kabalite Green is finished, we're going to add a second layer of Sybarite Green, and that's definitely lighter than the other. So what we're going to do is take all of our flaming units, which we only have a few of them here. We're going to take a little bit of that Sybarite Green. And we're just going to fan that flame from the bottom going upwards. Same with the back side here. Just sort of like that. So ultimately, this is what our flames look like once we're finished with our Sybarite Green. And as you can see, basically we just dry brush highlighted all of the high areas here. So now that we're finished with our Sybarite Green, we've got one more layer to do here, and we're going to take a little bit of Nurgling Green, and we're just going to put a few drops of that at the very base of these flames. Just like that. So we'll do that to all the others, including our giant standard here. And just like that. That stands out quite nicely there. So we'll do the rest of them, and we'll meet back here, and we'll move on to another item. So now that our flames are finished, what we're going to do is start on all of the feathers that are located throughout the units. So there's some on the waists, like this one. And there are some on the arms, like this one here. So what we're going to do is base coat all of those with Incubi Darkness with our detail brush. We're just going to paint right over that with our base, and it's a base paint. So it'll go on nice and thick. Even though it's watered down, it'll have great coverage. And we'll probably get by with just one coat. So we'll keep working at this. We'll do all of them and we'll meet back here in just a few minutes. So now our base layer of Incubi Darkness is finished, and we've done all of the feathers on the models that have feathers. So what we're going to do now is add a highlight layer on them, and what we're going to do for that is a little bit of Nurgling Green, which we used earlier on the flames. And we're just going to take a little bit of a dry brush of that. Come up that center stalk. And a little bit along the edges here. So that's it, just a little bit of a quick highlight just to get the high points. Now that we've got our Nurgling Green feather highlight done, we're just going to take a little bit of Moot Green, and we're just going to go over the edge, the tail end of these. Just a slightly brighter shade of green. Creating that two-tone effect, like so. So with our feathers done, I want to do the staff that this guy is holding. So we're going to do that with some dryad bark. And all we're going to do is just color in the staff. And then what we'll do is we'll meet back here when it's all done, and we'll start looking at some gold. So now that we've done with our dryad bark on our standard, we're going to start dealing with the gold trim. So we're going to take some Retributor Armour, and what we're looking to do is any of these metallic beaks, as well as any of these bracelets and shoulder connections, any of the Tzeentch symbols, and anything throughout this entire army. And all we're going to do is with our detail brush, just carefully start adding some of the color here, a little bit at a time. I've watered down the Retributor Armour with Flow Aid just to make it flow a little bit better. Might mean we need a second coat. We'll see. But that's all there is to it. And we're going to try our best not to get on top of our pink, which we're already finished with. Just like that. So there we go. So we're going to do all the other ones, and we'll meet back here again once they're all done. All 30 of them. So these are our units now that we finished all of the gold trim, and that was a lot for 30 models. So what we're going to do now is start on any of the metal trim that we have. So for example, any of these little collars here, and there's one there. There'll be some on the legs as well, some on the arms, one on the tail here. So any of those little round knobbed collars, as well as any of the swords or blades. So like this one right here, any of the solid collars like that, any of the cufflinks like this, minus the little Tzeentch symbol, but the cufflink itself or gauntlet, any of that stuff there. There's another collar there, and then we're going to do these swoops here on the on our display, on our standard. So all of that stuff we're going to do metallic. And what we're going to do is make it quite bright, similar to the Retributor Armour. So we're going to do Ironbreaker. You could do Lead Belcher and then Newell and Oil and then Ironbreaker, but there's 30 models. We're just fast painting them. So Ironbreaker it is. We're just going to put it right over the front and just keep rolling from there. So we'll do that now. just like so. And make it nice and bright. And this is another metallic that's watered down with Flow Aid, so it gets good coverage, but you probably need a second coat down the road here. So I'll do that now. Pretty much like this. So we'll finish up all these models and then we'll meet back here again to see where we go from here. So we'll do another coating after this. So this is our units now that their metallics are done, and as you can see, we've really started to add a little bit more detail to all of our units. Now what we're going to do next is, because we're not Nuln Oil shading these, we're just doing a quick run, what we're going to do is glaze all of this stuff with just a very light coat of Guilliman Blue Glaze, and that's just going to add a little bit more ethereal look to it. So we'll do that now. I'm going to take a little bit of glaze here. Just like so. And that's all we're doing, just adding that little tinge of blue metallic. So now that our blue glaze is finished, as you can see here, there's a little bit of blue tint, and we also brought up more of the detail in the metallics. Now that we finished that, what we're going to do is finish up the standard here. We're going to take a little bit of Abaddon Black, and with our finely detailed brush, we're going to color in the space. But we're going to fill in all of this for now. And that should really make that pop. So we'll do that here, finish up the unit, and then we'll meet back again in a few minutes. What we're going to move on is to the teeth now. And with the teeth, what we're going to do is take a base of Rakarth Flesh, and with a fine detailed brush, we're going to do each one like so. And that'll give us our base layer for our teeth and add a bit more detail to our model. And then we're also going to do any skulls that are lying around. So there should be a couple of them at the base of feet. There's one right here, for example. So any of the little skulls we're going to do, as well as any horns, such as on this guy here. So we'll do all of that with base of Rakarth Flesh, and we'll meet back here in a few minutes. So this is our army now that we've finished with our Rakarth Flesh base. And as you can see, we've done all of the horns, we've done the teeth, we've done any other horns. Don't forget to do the claws on all of the arms as well as the feet. And then any of the little spikes that are coming out as well. So all of that had to be done with Rakarth Flesh. Now it's time for shade. So the first shade we're going to be using is some Seraphim Sepia. And what we're going to do with that is all of the horns and the teeth and everything that we did with our Rakarth Flesh. So with a directed shade, so we don't get it on the other rest of the model. So we're going to do that for all the rest of the army, all of the units we have done, and then we'll meet back here again in the end. What we're going to do now is start a little bit more highlights. So the first thing we're going to do is take some Ushabti Bone, and with a detail brush, we're going to light back up some of these teeth here. Just like so. And we're going to light up that horn a little bit as well. Getting a bit of a two-tone effect there. And adding the light on the top half. Something like that effect there. So we're going to do that for all the other unit models. We're going to do all the skulls, but we won't do any of the claws because that's just too much. So we'll do that now. We'll meet back here and we'll move on. Finish with our Ushabti Bone. As you can see, we went over all the teeth, as well as all the horns and the skulls down below. So we've lightened all that up. What we're going to do now is a shade on all of the gold. And we're going to do that with Reikland Flesh Shade. And Reikland Flesh Shade is a reddish brown, which will make a nice warm gold highlight. Just like so. So we're going to be very careful not to get it on anything else, if we can help it. But we're going to do all of the bracelets, all of the charms, a little tiny bit more of that. Like bracelet in the back that has got a bit shine to it there. Just like so. And that's pretty much it for this model. We'll end up doing all the others, and then we'll meet back here when we're finished that. So our next step is to take on any of these rocks that are at the bases. So we're just going to do them with some Mechanicus Standard Gray. And we're just going to color them in like so. Like so. Just to set that apart from the rest of the pink and stand it out a little better. We'll do that for all the other ones, and we'll meet back here in a few minutes. So now that we've finished our stones, we're going to do one of our last steps here, and we're going to take a little bit of Dawnstone. We're going to dry brush over the stones, as well as add a dry brush to the tongues we did so long ago. So there's the stone done. And there's the tongue there. So it creates a nice two-tone effect there, as well as hitting the stone with a different base color. So we're going to do all of those, and then we'll meet back here in a little bit. So here's our units now that we finished with our Dawnstone. And as you can see, we've highlighted the stones as well as the tongue, and we've got a two-tone effect on both. So with that, we're pretty much finished our units. What we're going to do now is paint all the bases black, and then flock them, and we should meet back here to see the final product. So here's our final units, and as you can see, we've based them as well as fixed the color of the bases, and then we've also clear coated them. So these are our final models of how they look. So I hope yours turned out as good as ours did. I'm pretty pleased with how they look, and if you liked the video, or if you found that the instructions helped, please feel free to like it, leave a comment if you like, subscribe to the channel because that really helps. And we'll see you the next time we end up doing a painting video. Thanks for coming along.